And that's how hate spreads. It's a virus and it needs to be inoculated. We need to find a way to stop this virus from spreading. Have we lost our way? Have we forgotten historically what has happened in our past and what drove our ancestors to come to America and to build this incredible, beautiful republic that stands on principles of liberty and freedom? And I want to talk about that idea of freedom because I'm here in New York City and I'm astonished at how so many young Americans at these Ivy League universities want to give that freedom away. They don't even understand it. They can't even conceptualize it. And in fact, many of them are standing on the side of oppression and of hate. I don't even think they see it. They're useful idiots. I was talking yesterday to a retired cop here in New York City. He is from Cuba. He came to the United States when he was 13 years old, much like my mother did, but my mother was older than him when she came to the United States. She was in her late 20s from Cuba, and they lost everything. I mean, every story when you talk to Cuban immigrants that have come to this country legally, and they talk about how they lost everything. They're really talking about not their possessions, not so much what they had or their homes. They are talking about their freedom, that they lost everything, that their spirits were ripped out from them, and they had to find another place to live, leave their country behind, and come to a nation that promises them that justice will be served, that people would be judged by their merits, not by the color of their skin or how much money they have, but by who they are and what they invest in themselves and their families. And they come here, and that's the story of every migrant, of every immigrant that comes here legally, right? But there are so many Americans and so many young Americans, and I'm not going to just say youth now, because this isn't just about the kids at Columbia University or the young adults at Columbia University, Yale, Berkeley, whatever, Harvard, every one of those Ivy League schools that I've been to, and even some of our major public schools like UCLA and others. This isn't about just them. It's about a nation that is transforming, one that is transforming culturally as well as spiritually. It's an internal transformation that's happening right before our eyes. And I was talking to this retired cop, and we're sitting there, and he was so frustrated, just so angry, saying, like, we were standing outside Columbia University. We had all of these kids, young adults, and also some adults, some professors, I'm guessing, and others who are supporting these, Gaza encampments, these pro-Hamas supporters, anti-Israel supporters, who are out there protesting the Israeli government, protesting the U.S. aid to Israel. They don't even have an idea of what they're doing. It's like they've been programmed to do this. They've just been programmed to go out there. And this has been happening, my gosh, since I would really say since the Soviet Union and the communism reared its ugly head and it embedded itself into our universities. And we have produced these ideological progressives that are now in our government. They're in our corporations. They're lawyers. There are DAs, right, who are George Soros supported DAs who believe in low bail, no bail. The criminals have all the rights. The victims have none, right? There's always, but the victims have none if you're attacked by a criminal who they, quote unquote, see as underprivileged, right? But you are the problem. That is, if you have money, if you're educated, if you're white, if you're Jewish, if you're anybody who they oppose, you are the reason for the problems on the entire planet. And yesterday, while I was there at Columbia and I was watching and talking to some of these young people, it struck me how far down a hole our nation has gone. And it was terrifying to me. Not only did these Ivy League supposed college students have no idea what they were talking about, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but they were ready to give up everything. They hated America when they talked to me. They didn't believe in the principles that we stand for. Freedom, the most simple principle. I asked one girl who was standing there, she had never been to Israel, never seen Gaza with her eyes, never gone to the West Bank, never been anywhere in the Middle East. And she was lecturing me on how America is full of colonizers and that we're colonialists and that we have to basically give up this land back to the original inhabitants. I'm like, well, how far back is that? Should we can't find the caveman that was here back then. Are you saying just the Native Americans? But they warred each other. They fought each other for land. Now, are they going to have to give it back to each other? And she explained to me how the United States and Israel were these demons. So she was basically in agreement with Hamas. She was basically in agreement with Iran. She was basically calling her own nation demonic. A nation that has opened its arms to everybody on the planet that has said, you know, we are a nation built on immigrants, but we are a nation based in principles of freedom, of Western civilization. We mean something, and we're going to stand by our allies. She even said to me, and this is what was so astonishing. She even said to me that it was Israel's fault on October 7th. She actually believed that Israel instigated the fight on October 7th. Another person tried to argue with me and took me all the way back to 1948. And I was just like, this is going to end right now because they didn't even understand what they were saying to me. I want to play a clip first to give you a little example. And then I'm going to go back to the cop and I'm going to talk to you about why so many immigrants who came here before are so frustrated with the direction our nation is taking, because it reminds them, and by the way, it reminds me of what happened just before Cuba fell, and the stories that my mom would tell me, and the stories that my aunt would tell me, and that others tell me when they talk about, for example, when they talk about Ukraine, or when they talk about Russia, or when they talk about fleeing these nations where their rights were taken from them, and the reasons why they came here. Let's play this clip. I want to show you from the river to the sea. Let's play this clip first.
What does from the river to the sea mean?
It means that Palestine should be free and should be autonomous.
What river?
Okay. The expression is not anything bad of the story.
No, there's an actual river and an actual sea.
Yeah, I'm aware of this.
No, but what river, what sea?
The river that literally is beside Israel and the Palestinian territories.
What? It's the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea.
She didn't even know. And she wasn't the only one. I wasn't picking on her. There were so many of these students here at Columbia University in New York City that had no idea what they were even protesting. And this is what happened in countries where the internally, both spiritually and culturally, started to break down inside. And that happened in Cuba. I want to give you something that was written, and I was looking for this forever before I came on the podcast, and I finally found it. It's Dennis Prager, and it says, I now understand the good German. I now better understand the good German. And I remember I was so blown away by this column, and it was during COVID, and it's just how easily some people, most people actually, buy into lies and ideologies without even thinking them through or understanding what they're believing. They just buy into it. They are coaxed into it. They are brainwashed into it at the universities, or they believe leadership without questioning. And this is what happened during COVID. He said, the ease with which tens of millions of Americans have accepted irrational, unconstitutional, and unprecedented police state type restrictions on their freedoms, including even the freedom to make a living, has been, to understate the case, sobering. I got to tell you, that is how I feel when I'm walking around Columbia University, when I'm at Yale, when I'm in Boston, and I'm talking to young people that are supposed to be the future of this country, and they don't even have a concept of what they're protesting or why they hate Israel. They believe that the Israeli state is a colonizer, a genocidal state. They believe that their own nation is a colonizer and a genocidal nation that has no respect for other nations or other people. They don't believe in the principles of the Constitution of this country, and they are being trained by professors who are brainwashing them. And the Russians came up with a perfect term for this, for these types of people, which are a great majority of people, believe it or not. They're useful idiots. Their professors were useful idiots. And then they pass this false narrative onto their students and they brainwash them with it. And then they become the useful idiots. But they are very, very dangerous. And even more dangerous than those students and the professors are those of us that remain silent, I now better understand The Good German by Dennis Prager. Those that remain silent, knowing that what was happening was wrong. That silent majority that kept their mouth shut in Germany when Jews were being sent off to the gas chamber, or when Hitler and, the SS were delivering speeches that were blatantly false, that were blatantly anti-Semitic, that were full of lies, and no one stood up and said anything. When the silent person allowed their neighbors to be dragged out of the house and shot in the middle of the streets, or when professors stay quiet at their universities because they're too busy protecting their tenure, instead of saying, this is unacceptable, we are not going to allow this to happen to our Jewish faculty or to our Jewish students, or, by the way, folks, to the Western world. Because this is an attack. What you're seeing happening in America right now, the rise of this anti-Semitic behavior coming from, these ideological radicals in Dearborn, Michigan, in New York City, in Chicago, all across this country, these radical professors and these radical imams that we've seen in the streets that want to burn America, that hate this country. This is a virus that spreads, that is so dangerous. It is not just an attack on the Jewish state, Israel, or the Jewish people, but on Western civilization itself. And we are going to talk about that and so much more in just a few minutes. But first, MyPillow, folks. When Mike Lindell first launched MyPillow, it was solely a solution for one problem: your pillow, your headrest. But with the dedication of his team, they've expanded their offerings to include hundreds of products and to spread the word that they will not be a part of the cancel culture. They are hosting a $25 extravaganza going on now. And here's the current offer. Use promo code Carter, CARTER, at mypillow.com to get the sale price and free shipping on your order of over $75. Here's some of the products available for only $25. Get a 2-pack MyPillow sandals, luxurious 6-pack towel sets, the brand new 4-pack dish towels, small dog beds, beach towels, and so much more. Go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-685-7221 today to get in on the $25 extravaganza today. Be sure to use code Carter, CARTER, to get the sale price and free shipping on your order over $75. $5. Call 1-800-685-7221 or go to mypillow.com. Promo code Carter, Carter. Again, mypillow.com. Promo code Carter. So yesterday I get up at 4 a.m. I'm in Texas. I'm going to be heading to Yale University. And I start my morning off, like always, exhausted, get on a plane, get all the way to Connecticut, and then realize we have to head straight to New York City. So this is how a day in the life of my life when I'm working on the road for Fox News and Sean Hannity. I get to Connecticut, meet with the crew. We're at Yale, and I see a lot of the students walking around with their keffiyehs on, those wraps that you see, the Palestinian wraps, the checkered wraps, black and white, brown and black, red and black, all walking around. They got their nose piercings on, going for them, big old cowbells hanging out of their nose, big earrings, loops, the whole new young thing, tattoos everywhere, young girls in half shirts with their keffiyeh and, the LGBTQ community and trans guys wearing the same keffiyeh and, their big earrings and their tattoos. And I'm like thinking to myself, if you walked through Gaza with that tramp stamp on your back, my friend, and a cowbell hanging out of your nose with a keffiyeh wrapped around your neck, you probably wouldn't make it a few blocks before you would be either killed, beaten raw, or left for dead in some area. And I grew up in the Middle East. They're not going to put up with that. They don't believe it. Western society runs against this type of behavior, runs directly against the belief of most of the radicals, especially if you're looking at Hamas. Look at how Hamas treated the people when they entered, when they attacked. They didn't attack IDF, right? I want you to think about this. They didn't go in and say, we are going to fight IDF. We're going to target a base and we're going to start a war with their military. This is our militant arm against their militant arm. No, they didn't do that. Where did they go? They went into Kibbutz Be'eri. They went into the other kibbutzes. They targeted the Nova Festival, the young, the innocent, the civilians, the babies. First of all, Hamas is cowards. They're just a bunch of cowards. And secondly, they hate Western civilization. That's why they hate Israel. Israel is an example of a Western world that they want nothing to do with. They are indoctrinated, and their political belief is established in Islamism. It is a belief that is deeply rooted in who they are and what they want. Those women that they raped, in their minds, were nothing more than dogs. They were nothing. That is how Iran looks at us as well. Iran was funding Hamas. Iran funds Hezbollah. But Iran isn't just targeting Israel. Americans are fooling themselves. And these young students who are being indoctrinated at these universities, walking around with their, half shirts and trying to be cool and looking rebellious because they think it's like the hip thing to do now, and that they're supporting some kind of minority group that is being oppressed by these Israeli Jews. They are being lied to. And they are the useful idiots. They're idiots because they don't even want to know the truth. They are so desperate to believe in something, to have something, to give some meaning to something, that they believe their life is so meaningless. They need to fight for something, but instead of fighting for what's righteous and real, like freedom, hello, they fight to give it up. I'm like, do you really understand what you're standing for? Would you be okay? Because the girls that I spoke to out on the streets, the one that are marching, the lesbians that I talked to and everything, this wouldn't go down well with the people that you are supporting. out here, which is Hamas. Because they're actually saying Hamas chants from the river to the sea means the annihilation of Israel. That is a belief that is in the Hamas charter. That is a belief that Iran absolutely stands for. They love it when Americans are marching through the streets from the river to the sea, like in Colombia. And when I got to Colombia, when we finally leave Connecticut, right? Because we're like, we got to go to New York. We got to get to Colombia. So get in the car with the crew. We're driving. It takes about an hour and 45 minutes. By the way, Connecticut is beautiful. The drive is absolutely stunning. Kudos to everybody in Connecticut on your way to New York. It's just so gorgeous. And we get to, New York, we get to Columbia. And of course, the cops are there. They're lining up the streets in their riot gear because they don't know what's going to happen. They're really nice. I actually stopped the first cop I was talking to. They were in a police SUV, and I walked up to them, and he kind of rolled down the window apprehensively at me, just like wondering, what is this woman walking up to my car for? We're in New York City. And I said, hey, do you know if there's going to be protests here today? And he's like, oh, no, I wish I could give you more information, but we're actually here to guard Lululemon. They're guarding Lululemon. Like New York cops, because the crime is so out of control in the city that they have to put patrol vehicles in front of stores because of the crime. And then the other cops are all lined up on the street with like riot gear on. And there's all of these kids showing up now and young people, in their keffiyehs, the black and white checkers wrapped around their necks, their cowbells hanging just like Yale. It's the same story. And they're all lining up in front, and they're standing with all of these posters. By the way, and we're going to put some of those up so that you guys have them on SarahACarter.com. But these posters are all the exact same poster. They're like, so this was all, obviously coordinated and organized by people that are using these useful idiot young people as their sheep to push the most horrific and dangerous ideology on planet Earth. And they not only want to take away Israel, and that's why this fight is our fight. Israel's fight is our fight. They want to take away our world and our way of life. If they had a chance to remove Israel off the face of the earth, by God, watch out, because we're next. And there are terrorists here, by the way. Our FBI knows it. We know it in the media. You may know it if your media has reported it to you. I don't know. We just don't know when or where an attack will happen, but it will happen in America. But we're destroying ourselves. We've allowed our children to be indoctrinated in these universities across our country, in our high schools, in our middle schools. While we were at work, our children were being stolen from us and from our nation. The Russians knew this. The Soviets knew it. The Soviets even said, we won't even have to lift a weapon. We will let America tear itself apart from the inside. The Chinese know it. I don't want to see that happen. But the only way this won't happen is when we stand up and force the other side to tell the truth and force them to look in the mirror and see what they are doing and what they are saying. We have to inoculate our children and our society with truth, with reality. There is nothing greater in the world to fight for than freedom. So why do so many of our young people walk around with Che Guevara t-shirts on? Why do so many of our young people get indoctrinated into this idea that socialism is going to solve all of their problems, when we know directly from history that it won't? Why do we have young people espousing the ideology of one of the most grotesque organizations on planet Earth, if not the most grotesque organization on planet Earth, Hamas and Hezbollah? These young girls have no concept that they could not even walk through the streets. In some of the Muslim nations that I've traveled through and lived in, their rights would be taken from them immediately. Do they really believe that because they say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, that they chant this with their so-called friends of Hamas on the streets of New York, that somehow if they ended up in Tehran, that the religious police in Tehran wouldn't beat the living daylights out of them or kill them for standing up and speaking out? Why aren't professors teaching them that young girls in Tehran are literally sacrificing their lives so that they don't have to wear hijab, so that they can speak their minds, so that they can be free? Why do American children want to give away that freedom? Why have they been indoctrinated and talked into this idea that they should be rebellious just for the sake of rebellion, right? Why? I want you to think about how little so many of these college students know. There's this great article, and this is Ron Hassner. He's a professor of political science at the University of California, Berkeley. He decided to survey students to determine just what they knew and what they believed. The findings, he laid them out in the Wall Street Journal. This is insane. Listen to this. When college students who sympathize with Palestinians chant from the river to the sea, do they know what they're talking about? I gave you an example of that. I hired a survey firm, this is what this Professor Hassner said, to poll 250 students from a variety of backgrounds across the U.S. Most said they supported the chant and enthusiastically. So 32.8% and others, to a lesser extent, 53.2%. But only 47% of the students who embraced the slogan were able to name the river and the sea. Some of the alternative answers were, listen to this, the Nile and the Euphrates, the Caribbean, the Dead Sea, which, by the way, is a lake. I floated in it. It was amazing. And it was just an absolutely incredible experience. So if you ever get a chance to go to Israel, do that and go to the Dead Sea. And the Atlantic. That's what they were saying. Less than a quarter of these students knew who Yasser Arafat was. He was the head of the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. 12 of them or more, a long time ago, 12 of them or more than 10% thought he was the first prime minister of Israel. This is what is happening. Our children are not being taught. They are being lied to. We have a nation that is failing miserably at educating and giving our students the tools to critically think. Instead, we have taught them to become sheep and rebel for the sake of rebellion, not based on anything factual, not given any tangible, real reasons to fight for the right ideas, for the right narratives. I was there at Columbia and I couldn't get on campus because they have a safe space, these adults, young adults, and they pitched all these tents. It's this Gaza solidarity encampment, And they put it out there and they're sleeping in tents, by the way, which all match. Somebody's funding this. We know that. And they're using the useful idiots to divide our nation and to spread hate and anti-Semitism. The tents were all in the center of the main courtyard. And I don't know if you all know this now, but right now, Columbia has such it's happening across the country, but Columbia has such a big problem now with these mobs. They are becoming more and more violent. They're becoming more and more threatening. Jewish students on campus, some of them couldn't even walk to their classrooms. I want to show you what happened at Yale. We're going to play a clip of this. This happened at Yale, and it's just, to me, it's just heartbreaking and astonishing that we've come to this point.
To us. We're here. Don't get in my way.
He's allowed
We're looking at right now, for those of you who can't see the video, we're watching a Jewish student that is being blocked by these pro-Hamas supporters from entering campus. On Columbia University, Liquids are being thrown at Jewish students. Some Jewish students have already left and they've gone to Israel. They'd rather be in a war zone than be on campus. They feel safer there in Israel than they do on a campus here in the United States. They are being taunted. They are being yelled at. There are professors that have been locked out of their classrooms because the school cannot provide security. And now Columbia, which by the way costs like $80,000 plus a year for like their I think for their engineering degree or whatever. So it's between $66,000 to $85,000 a year to go to school at Columbia University. Isn't that crazy? No way. My kids will not be going there. They better have a full ride scholarship. And then I don't think any of them would want to go there to begin with. But a school that costs that much money now has to have online hybrid learning until the end of the year because they cannot protect their student or faculty. That's how bad this has gotten. That's how dangerous this is. And that's how hate spreads. It's a virus and it needs to be inoculated. We need to find a way to stop this virus from spreading. And I'm going to tell you how to stop it. I'm going to give you the tools right now. Speak up. Stop being quiet. How many of you after COVID said, oh my gosh, I wish I would have just spoken up. I wish I wouldn't have gotten the vaccine. Or I wish I would have said something. I wish I would have fought harder for my church to have a church service. How many of you now will wish in the future that you had spoken up? The worst thing you can be right now is that good German. I know it's going to be hard. I say this all the time. It's hard for me. Everybody was worried about me. But I felt like if you're standing on our streets and you are protesting our ally and you are locking faculty out of a college campus, and now all of the students have to pay the price on the main campus and have hybrid learning because you are threatening them, then you are going to have to at least acknowledge my existence there. And if you want and choose, answer my questions. But I'm not going to sit back quietly and let you just walk around March yelling all these anti-Semitic remarks, talking about my nation that my husband gave his eyes for, that my friends lost their lives for, and that I spent my entire life reporting on. I am not going to allow you to put this country down without giving me a good reason for it. Just because somebody hands them a flyer or a poster and gives them a chant doesn't mean they can just get away with it because it appears to be more of them than there are of us. That's not the case. There are more of us than there are of them. Don't be afraid to stand up and ask the questions. It's not going to be easy. And frankly, sometimes it does become dangerous. But I'd rather be able to go to bed at night and close my eyes and know that I did the right thing than go to bed at night and know that I could have done so much more, or that I did the wrong thing, or that I turned my back on a friend or an ally just because I didn't want to be ostracized, or just because I was afraid. Are you concerned about the endless flood of illegal immigration at the southern border? How about the $1 trillion being added to the national debt every 100 days? It's no wonder thousands of hardworking, patriotic Americans, including myself, are learning how to protect and diversify their retirement savings with precious metals. That's why I've partnered with the top-rated company Gold Co. Listen to the current offer. Get a free 2024 wealth protection kit and learn how to possibly get $10,000 in bonus silver as a listener of this show while supplies last. Protect your family's financial future and freedom. Get started today with SaraLikesGold.com or call 855-823-GOLD. Get your free gold kit from Gold Co. and learn how to get $10,000 in bonus silver. SaraLikesGold.com or 855-823-4653. That's SaraLikesGold.com or call 855-823-GOLD. You know, a lot of the way I feel, and I feel blessed, is because of my faith. Everybody has a different way of handling things. My faith in God keeps me going. keeps me centered. And when I lose myself, I find myself right back, praying and asking, what is it that you want me to do today? What is it, God, that you want me to do today? And I really believe that what God wants us to do is stand up for what is right. Students should not, and Americans and anyone, nobody should have to feel like the Jewish students have felt since October 7th on these campuses. They should not feel ostracized. They should feel safe and welcomed and loved. This is a nation which the essential principles are built on freedom and liberty. A republic that stands for something, one that the rest of the world, people who really understand oppression and are fleeing oppression, this is their beacon of light and hope. Once this is gone, it's over, folks. It really will be over until somebody or something can rebuild it again. We can't allow that to happen. We have to start fighting back. We have to start speaking up. We have to take the time out of our day to do the right thing. And I promise you that together, you and I will make a difference. You and I will make a difference. Folks, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for being a part of my show and a part of my life. It means everything to me. I pray for every single one of you, for our nation, and that we heal and that we find a better way. And look, I'm not here to make any of these useful idiots feel even like bigger idiots, but I'm here to point out the facts. And those facts are that these are our children. They are being indoctrinated. We need to give them an inoculation of the truth. We need to help them and guide them and bring them back the right way so that we can save our nation. That is what we need to do. Please make sure you're subscribed to the Sara Carter Show on your favorite podcast app. It really gives us a boost in our algorithm. If you are watching on Rumble or YouTube, give us a like and a follow as well. Thank you so much. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on X at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. Again, God bless you. God bless our great nation. God bless the state of Israel, and God bless the great state of Texas.